Welcome to While She Naps, the podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg, and on today's show, I'm pleased to welcome two guests, Gwen Bortner and Stacey Trock. Gwen and Stacey are both yarn people. Gwen designs knitwear, and Stacey designs crocheted stuffed animals. But they're also much more than that. They're teachers and business owners and bloggers, too. On today's show, the three of us will be sharing our tips for great stuff in media, apps, tools, websites, and other amazing things we are loving right now that we think you'll love too. First, let me introduce you to Gwen. Gwen Bortner has been teaching since 1986 and is a recognized name at many national venues since 2003. Beginning in early childhood, Gwen has dabbled in all of the various needle arts, with knitting finally taking center stage during her college years. Gwen has nearly 30 years of experience as a business consultant, trainer, and executive working in a variety of business arenas. Her superpower is the ability to share new and valuable information in accessible, easy-to-process, bite-sized pieces. Gwen can be found on her shared blog at twosidestwopoints.com and on her website at gwenbortner.com. And let's say hello to my frequent guest, Stacey Trock. Stacey's business is Fresh Stitches. She designs crocheted patterns for adorable and huggable stuffed animals. Her patterns are easy to follow and take the mystery out of crochet. She is also a teacher on Craftsy.com and nationally, and is the author of 3 books. You can find Stacey online at freshstitches.com. Gwen, Stacey, welcome.
Hi. Hi, Abby. Thank you for having us.
Gwen, I really enjoyed your recent blog post about the similarities you see between knitting and starting a business. So tell us about that and about what projects you're working on now at the start of 2014.
Well, I often will find similarities in two things that seem disparate, because I think that there's more similarities in life than there are differences. I think we try to get focused on the differences way too often. And what I'm working on right now is my blog partner, Kelly Nuss, and I are in the process of changing our informal relationship into a formal relationship. And we're very excited about that. And thus, we recently moved from thesamestitch.com to 2 Sides, 2 Points, which reflects our new look, our new logo, and our new direction.
Wow, that's terrific. So what kinds of steps did you take to sort of more formalize your business relationship?
We're actually in the process of actually becoming partners, true business partners, in the financial sense, not just kind of the emotional sense that we've been in via the blog for the last several years. We started the blog together in, I think it was 2010, might have been 8. Can't remember now. It's been a while. Kelly and I met when we were teaching at Stitches events, and our initial name is 2 Sides of the Same Stitch, 2 points of view about the craft we love, because Kelly is a much more of a creative, where I'm much more of a logic-based person. She's right-handed, I'm left-handed. She lives on the East Coast, I live on the West Coast. She has 5 kids, I have none. So
wait, does she have a dog?
She just had to put her little sweetie down. She had this great basset hound that I met that was just hysterical. I loved this basset hound. So she's got this basset hound with legs that are, like 2 inches long. I have a Great Dane. So there you are. It's another example.
That's fantastic. And I think it really makes for an interesting blog, because that's what unites you is knitting.
And, knitting, for those who aren't familiar, we talk about knit and purl like it's 2 stitches, but it's just the front and the back of the same stitch. And so it really is the same thing. It's whether you're making it from the front or you're making it from the back.
That's so cool. I love that. Such great parallels there between life and knitting. That's awesome. All right. So Stacey, I know that you are joining us from Australia today, but normally you're in Minnesota normally. And I think it's like 0 degrees in Minnesota today. But so what time is it there in Australia, and what is
It's 6 a.m.
And what's the temperature outside?
And I think it's the next day. I'm on 8th.
It's the 8th.
You're on the
right.
7th.
So we're recording this on January 7th, and it's the 8th.
I live in the future.
and what
You always were that cool.
She's a super girl. What's it like outside right now? Is it 0? It's not 0 degrees there, I'm assuming.
Well, but what's so funny, so now that I live in Minnesota, it's cold, right? And in Australia, not enough happens to sustain the whole news hour. So there's frequently world news. That's sort of mean. They just care about the world more than we do in America. And so there's always international news. And Minnesota has been on the TV every night about how cold it is. And same temperature it was when we left. I think it's just that the rest of the country is now enjoying that, minus 10, minus 15 degree without wind chill temperature, and snow that we've been getting since like Thanksgiving. So I'm sort of giggling about that.
We're all enjoying typical Minnesota weather here now.
Right, it's just Minnesota everywhere.
So how is your trip going? And what I know you were doing some reflecting and some future planning for Fresh Stitches.
Yeah, no, it's going great. So every year, I don't know if you know or not, but there's a cricket match. And cricket is a game that takes 5 days to play. And there are 5 of these matches. So every year, Tim and I go to the one that's in Sydney and go and watch. And this year it was England versus Australia, which is a really big deal. And I bring along my knitting, and we get there at 6 a.m, and we wait, we watch and yada yada. It's all very fun and all very Australian. And this year the game only lasted 3 days, which is like shocking. So I didn't get as much knitting done as I had planned on getting done. And we've just been doing family stuff, and I've been blogging. It's nice for me to sort of blog and not do that much else, So like you said, I get to do some little brainstorming. I'm currently working on all of my yarn I need to start the New Year's. They're waiting for me, and hopefully not snowed in under 5 tons of snow. But the weather's nice.
Good. Nice. That sounds good. So how much longer are you there for?
1 more week, and then we make the long trek back home.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Great.
Beef jerky is my secret. I could have that as one of my things. I think beef jerky is my secret to success on the flight.
Oh yeah. Just gives you that protein while you're
a little bit of protein. Because I used to bring a lot of crackers, but those aren't very filling, and they're sort of boring. So I bring pomegranates, which is a controversial decision because a lot of people think they're too messy, but I think they're just a good distraction. It takes a full half hour to process a pomegranate, and so it's a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of beef jerky. That's what keeps me going.
Awesome. Gwen, I know, Gwen, you travel a lot for your work. Do you ever,
Not like that.
Do you ever choose those 2 unusual snacks?
Of the continental United States. So I don't have to have big plans. And because I live in a little tiny market, I always have at least 1 layover so I can get, food at the airport. So awesome. I don't have to have these quite the extravagant plans that Stacey has to have.
That's hilarious. Okay. And I, let's see what I'm working on right now. I'm getting ready for Valentine's Day. Because I just started keeping a year-long calendar for my business, which has been amazing. So now I'm super on time with all the future holidays, which I never was before. They would always sneak up on me. So
wait, what do you mean you're keeping a calendar?
I just have printed out a calendar of the whole year.
Oh,
and so I can plan out what's going to happen. I know it's a crazy idea, but I'm kind of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person in the past. So now I'm ooh, next month is Valentine's Day. So,
surprise.
I know, right? So I'm starting a sew along that will launch on January 14th on my blog, and It is based on the Benji the Bumblebee pattern that I have. I've done some neat alterations and additions to it to make Benji into a love bug. So that you can sew Valentine's Day love bug for all your friends and kids, etc. And so the pattern will be discounted for the full month from January 14th to February 14th. There'll be tutorials in the blog about how to make your love bug and a hashtag so you can post pictures. And then there'll be fabulous prizes on Valentine's Day for the cutest love bug. So that is what I am working on.
Cool.
Yeah, the Benji the Bumblebee sew along. So, all right. So we're going to start talking about our fun picks. We've got some amazing lists here. So I think, Gwen, we're going to start with you. And you wanted to talk about some knitting needles. I don't knit, so this will be an education for me. They're the Addy Clicks and the Collage double point needles.
Yeah, people always ask, what are your favorite knitting needles? And ultimately, the ones that I have available to work on the project that I want to work on is my favorite pair. But what I find is the Addy Clicks are the ones I'm going to a lot now. Addy actually has several different Clicks versions. They have short lace tips, they have long lace tips, they have bamboo, they have their regular turbo, and they all use the same cord. And over time, I've actually collected kits with of all the different types of tips, and so they're wonderful to travel with because it's just easy to find what I need, and sometimes it actually makes sense to have two different types of tips, like a bamboo tip and a metal tip, so I can keep track of, which one's which. And so I find I'm using those a lot. And when I do need double points, Collage has been my new go-to. They are manufactured in the USA, which I just love. They're like the only needle that's manufactured in the USA. And they have really sharp little tips, and they're square. But and the square I find makes it easier to knit with when I'm knitting on smaller things, which tends to be when I'm using my double points. And so those are my go-to needles. Those are the needles that I find that I'm going to all the time. And if I can choose, that's what I choose. Now, like I said, sometimes I go and the size I need is already in another project. That happens quite a bit. But if I have my druthers, those are the needles that I'm going to, particularly because of the portability of the Clicks. For all the traveling, it makes it really, really easy to take them with me. And I have a little Aran Lane case that is perfect for them. So it's fabulous.
Awesome. That does sound good. I don't know much about knitting, so I can't really ask any intelligent questions about them. Stacey, I know you do.
I do. I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do this. Okay. So, do you prefer the Clicks over just having a regular Addy? Or
Yes.
is it just a convenience thing? Like, are you actually as pleased with the knitting process on the Click as the regular?
Yeah, I am. Some people don't like the join. I mean, the join is always an issue for anybody because if they're an interchangeable needle, which is what these are, they can come apart occasionally. That's just the reality of it. It just doesn't bother me, and I occasionally will have an issue, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, and we're talking about our underlying theme, well, at least my underlying theme, is time, organization, and efficiency. So now that you have an interchangeable set, do you feel that your needle stash is more organized and efficient?
Mine was always pretty organized. I've made a little tube holder that keeps things organized, and sometimes I hop over to those needles, but for travel and not always knowing what I'm going to be working on or what I'm going to need at the time, having the Clicks is just so much more flexible.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, those were my questions.
Awesome. You did a good job taking over. Thank you. All right. So, Stacey, you wanted to talk about the calorie counter app.
Oh, yeah, but wait, I want to say first,
Sure.
I have to go on my favorite knitting needles, too. So
sure.
I, controversially, am just a regular Addy Turbo chick. Even though I agree that the join on the interchangeables is the best join I've probably ever seen, I just can't get down with it. So I go for just the regular needles, and I take the tactic of only knitting. I pick like a kind of thing I'm going to make, and I just have to make that kind of thing. Like in Australia, I just have to make a shawl with fingering weight yarn because I brought my size 5s, and that's how it's going to be. And for double point needles, my favorite is the Knitter's Pride Carbons because it's grippy on the length of the needle, but smooth on the tip of the needle. And then for socks, my favorite is a Haya 9-inch circular. So that's
I cannot use those 9-inch circulars. I am not capable. I cannot use those 9-inch circulars.
Yeah, it's some people you hate them,
I cannot.
or you. Yeah,
I'm a
have
hater.
Small hands, I guess. I'm a hater. Small hands, I guess. And so I just love them, and they're so tiny, and so I just throw them in my bag. I love them. Okay, the calorie counter app. So the backdrop to this whole conversation is I got a tablet. So I'm not known for having many gadgets. I have a smartphone, but it doesn't do smart. It's not connected to like a data plan. So I'm far behind on the technology front. But I finally got a Kindle Fire, which is just like a little tablet that lets me get apps. So I'm really excited. And one app I got is a calorie counter app. And it's really cool because, well, it does exactly what it says. It helps you count calories. So you can type in, you get up in the morning and you can type in like, I had half a cup of yogurt and, this brand of cereal. And it has a huge database that's user entered. That has all the nutrition information for that particular item. And if it's not in the database, then you can enter it. So in Australia, you have to enter a lot of the information because it's mostly American brands of cereal, for example. But you add it in and it tells you how many calories you should be having a day. And like you can put in your exercise, which gets you extra calories that you can burn if you went for a run. And it's just, and the whole process, it's the process of telling yourself, oh yeah, I actually did have like 2 chocolates, and having to fess up to the little computer, more than anything else. But I think it's fun.
Yeah. I've been on Weight Watchers more than, at least like 6 times probably since, when did I first start? I guess in 2000. So anyway, I love Weight Watchers, but one of the things that's great about it is that there is an app, a very similar situation to what you're describing, that you can get on the iPhone, and you can enter, what you've eaten during the day. And like you, I find that if I do that, I'm so much more cognizant because I'm like having to, as you say, fess up to and face, right. Okay, this is what you've already had. Do you really think that you need more? So, yeah. So when I'm doing that, it does really work. Not that I'm doing that at the moment, but it does work when I do it. So
I am just not dedicated enough to do it. I've tried many times. I've used Spark People, which is a website that'll do all of those same things, but I would just record the exercise piece. I just am not dedicated enough to record all of the food, and it ends up kind of defeating me. And so I've learned that even though it's the right thing to do, so you're really aware of it, it just does me in.
Yeah, well, I accepted a certain amount of imperfection, which I think was very important because I actually don't care enough to weigh my food, for example. Like, I've learned that like an ounce of cheese is the size of 2 die or whatever, but I'm not actually going to weigh the piece of cheese at the Christmas dinner. It's gone too far. So I think I've played it a little loosey-goosey. But, one theme in life, I think, is doing something imperfectly is often better than just not doing anything. So if you can force yourself a bit of, imperfection and just do it, then that helps sometimes.
Absolutely. That's a really good theme in life. I like that a lot. Yeah, definitely. So, I wanted to talk about a book that I have read more than once and that I really love. I'm kind of a sewing machine nerd. I love sewing machines, and I teach people how to use their sewing machines, so I get to see all different kinds. I saw a really cool one the other day. This woman brought in an IKEA sewing machine, which I had no idea IKEA made.
I've seen those.
They're so cute. They're blue and yellow. It's adorable. And you know what? They work really well, and they're, under $100. But anyway, so this is a book called The Sewing Machine Classroom, and it's by Charlene Phillips. And she has run a sewing machine parts shop for many years, and I think she also teaches. And this book, I think if you're going to get any book about how to use a sewing machine and how to understand what a sewing machine can and can't do and diagnose the problems that your machine might be having, I would say this is the best book to get from, and I read a lot of them. First of all, the photos are really clear, and there's tons of photos. And there's a great chapter called Demystifying Your Machine, which I think is really terrific because it shows you, what is bobbin tension? What does it look like when it's off? What does it look like? What is tension? General tension, like why, how much thread is let out with each stitch, and like how does that work? How do you really understand that? It tells you all about different kinds of feet and low shank feet, high shank feet. I mean, it really goes into details. And it also shows you how to do all the different kinds of stitches, how to do buttonholes, how to, all different kinds of interesting things. Smocking, it gets into shearing and all different techniques. But as far as really understanding your machine and how a sewing machine really works, and then being able to sit down and say, okay, the reason why the thread is bunching is because of this. I can sit down and diagnose the problem, fix the problem, and, because almost all the time the machine is not broken. It just needs to be threaded, rethreaded properly, and the bobbin needs to be wound properly and all that sort of thing. So this book is the book to really learn how your sewing machine works. And if you want to teach other people how to use their sewing machines, then this is a great book, too, to give you the confidence to feel like you can approach any machine, whether it's brand new from IKEA or, a 1950s Singer or whatever, and be able to see how it's going to work and what needs to be done to make it work better. So I really recommend it. And I think she's a super author, and I love this book. So, and it's got a nice spiral binding, so it can open flat.
Ooh, that's nice.
Always a good thing. So, so that's The Sewing Machine Classroom by Charlene Phillips. Really good book. All right. So, all right, we're back up to Gwen, and this is, I've been meaning to talk about my coffee maker, so maybe in a different show I will, but, so it's very different from this one, but, so you use, or don't use, you love, but don't use the Scoop coffee maker.
Yeah, my husband got it for Christmas. I am not a coffee drinker, but it has made him so happy, because... And making a husband happy is a nice thing, right? I mean, that's a good thing to do. And because he can just go get a cup of coffee whenever he wants one, instead of debating about making a whole big pot, and does he have to drink the whole pot? And, it just goes on and on and on. And it's just so efficient. And because it basically works like a Keurig, except you don't have to buy the pods. You can use whatever coffee you want. So... It's way more efficient from that standpoint.
I watched a little video online, and it makes basically one cup of coffee at a time. So that if you're the only coffee drinker, for example, you can, or you just want one cup, throughout the day, you can just make one cup instead of having to make a whole pot, which you end up throwing.
Very cool, because he would, he'd make one cup in the morning during vacation that he was here, and then partway through the day, he'd look at me and he'd get this little grin and say, I'm going to go have another cup of coffee, And he'd toddle downstairs and make one more cup of coffee whenever he wanted it.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, it's really cool because we've been talking about getting a Keurig, but I hate the idea of having to buy all those little pods.
The pods are... I know, that's what I can't do.
And so that completely eliminates that. You just... There's a little, scoop that you put in your coffee, and it just runs through it.
Yeah, the Scoop is like a filter. So you just scoop your own coffee. So that's really nice. And it looks like you can also make it right into your travel mug. So if you can do it, a regular coffee cup or a travel mug cup.
They've got it designed for either.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it is, like I said, I don't drink coffee, so I will hardly ever use it, but I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, pretty cool. Awesome. Okay, so Stacey, you wanted to talk. I almost called you Stella, which is my daughter's name. What does that mean? You're not my daughter. But anyway,
it means I'm not wearing a dress ever.
You wanted to talk about the Pomodoro, am I saying that right, technique?
Yeah. So I have to say, my things have this time management theme because everything I'm loving right now seems sort of like mean to say right now. Like I went surfing on the beach, so I feel like I should keep all of my things, oriented towards the new year. And time focused instead of talking about how I was surfing last week. So, the Pomodoro technique. So I haven't actually done this. My friend Vanessa at Mixed Martial Arts and Crafting told me about it, and I'm interested because she does it. What it is basically, I guess the guy was named Pomodoro. I don't really know. But he has this idea that you really only get stuff done in small chunks of time. Like if you sit down for 3 hours, you're not really working for 3 hours. You're sort of fidgeting and futzing. So you set a timer for 25 minutes and you just do one thing and only one thing the whole time during that 25 minutes. And then when the alarm rings, you check your email or you, run around the house, have a cup of coffee, and then you set the timer again and you do something else. Which I think is a really good idea because a lot of time, I think multitasking is very good for some things. Like if you're checking Twitter and checking your email and maybe doodling, I don't know, like doing small things, then multitasking is great. But if you're doing something that requires more focus, like writing a pattern, maybe, proofreading something, then the whole multitasking thing just isn't, I think, a good idea because you're not focused. So I think this little technique sort of captures my philosophy of multitasking. Like just pick 25 minutes, like hammer at it, get it done, and then you can skip through the hallways.
Gwen, have you ever tried something like this?
I haven't, but I've heard about it and it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
It makes perfect logical sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking on their website. First of all, they have really cute timers that look like tomatoes, which I'm kind of like, I don't know. Is this related to Pomodoro, like the tomato?
I think it is the tomato. Oh, maybe it's how long it takes for a tomato to cook or something. Yeah,
we're going to have to investigate.
That's related to the tomato.
Okay, I'm getting a tomato vibe from this website, but I do really like that idea, and I do find that if I turn off all of my smartphone alerts and just kind of focus on one thing, I get a lot more done, and it's better quality. So this is a good
thing. So I shut off my email as a matter of course. This is my new life philosophy. My email is, I guess I've been doing it over a year now. My email is just shut, and I open it and I do the checking of the email. Instead of having it open all day long and just sort of, because you feel like you have to reply if something beeps at you.
Right. Absolutely. When I do turn it off, I feel so much better. So, and get so much more done. All right. That's a good one. My next one is actually funny. So, these are two phrases that I use as a mom for parenting. I have 3 daughters who are 9, 7, and 3 years old. So I do a lot of active parenting of them all the time. And so these are 2 phrases that I have found to be incredibly effective for all of those diverse ages. So the first one is, actually, a pediatrician told me this a long, long time ago, and that is, if you're going to cave, cave. This is a phrase you say to yourself, actually. So when your child is asking you for something and you kind of know in the back of your mind eventually you probably would just give it to them, just give it to them. So in other words, don't say no 13 times and then on the 14th time, just give it to them, because that's like the best form of reinforcement for them, because they know if they ask 13 times, they'll get it on the 14th one. So if you're going to cave, and it has to do with, it actually applies to all kinds of parenting things, not just if your child's asking for something, but, when they're infants, and they're crying at night and you're going to have to get up and go down and feed them. If you hear that cry, just get up and go. Like eventually you're going to have to go. So why get fully aroused and fully awake? Just if you're going to cave, just go,
I think that's good for life too. Like,
yeah, I agree.
If you're one of these people who, someone asks you to do something and you're, oh, it's not now. Like, why get asked 20 times and then end up doing it? Just either do it or don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very good phrase. I love it. And the other one that I use a lot, and this one is one I actually say to the kids, which is one more fun thing. So if we're somewhere and we're playing at the playground, for example, they're having a great time, but, we need to be somewhere at 3 o'clock and it's 2:50. So we really have to go. I will say to them, one more fun thing, and then we're going to go. And then they look around and they say, well, I want to do the slide as my last fun thing. Or, I want to go run over there as my last fun thing. And they choose, they go and they do it, and then we leave. And it's like, it gives them a choice. It makes them know that they got to do their last thing. And then they leave without a fuss. And it works every time. So I see a lot of parents with kids who don't want to leave, and they're like dragging them out and the kid's crying. And I feel like if you can just go up to them and say, one more fun thing, and then we're leaving, it really does work. And sometimes they'll try to push it and be like, yeah, my one more fun thing is going to be, some like really big, long, complicated thing. It's like, no, one more fun thing, and then we're leaving. And I swear it works for the 9-year-old as well as it works for the 3-year-old. It is a good technique. So,
and that's good for the 3-year-old too, because like a lot of people use time, like we're leaving in 5 minutes, but that's not a very significant thing to a 3-year-old.
That's totally right. Right. So for them to feel like, saying one more minute or 5 more minutes, it doesn't mean anything. But this gives them some semblance, some feeling of control over it, which is what kids really want. And,
right.
And a realistic time period of, after I go down the slide, then that's about as long as we have, So I like those two phrases. All right. So we're back up to you, Gwen. You wanted to talk about the Dynamic Communicators International events.
Yes. I have been living with these people. They have 3 major events a year, and I actually did the Triple Crown. I went to all 3 of them this year. They are not for the faint of heart. They are expensive and they are intense. So if you're going to do them, you got to be committed for it. But I came across them via Michael Hyatt, and he's a leadership blogger. And there are 3 events. One is called the Platform Conference, about building your platform. One is called the Launch Conference, about how to launch yourself into whatever your new business is. And the last one is the SCORE Conference, and SCORE is an acronym that they use for teaching how to improve your public speaking. And so the thing about these events is that they are intense, that you need to be committed if you're going to go to these things. But because they're intense, they are amazingly useful. They have an incredible depth of information. The people who are running it are exceedingly generous. The other people that you meet there are fabulous. It was quite an investment of time and energy and money, but the value was totally worth it, and that I invested this past fall by going to all of the events.
Wow. And do you ever meet anybody there who's also in sort of the needle arts or craft?
Oh no, I was definitely a party of one. Well, except for the Platform Conference, because Kelly, my blog partner, and I actually went to that one together. So Kelly and I were in the room, but no, most people are doing, speaking careers in kind of more traditional sort of things, either inspirational, motivational, leadership, kind of what I would call the typical topics you would expect people in the public speaking arena to be covering. So it was interesting, talking to people about, I'm a professional knitting instructor. We're like, really? That's a thing? Yeah, no, it's a thing.
That's interesting. I think in some ways it's neat to be the sort of outlier because you bring in a really different perspective.
Well, exactly. And the thing is it does allow you to look at things. And for me, that was part of the reason of going to these conferences, because the same thing is happening on the other side of the equation. I'm hearing it from them in a completely different way, because they're not at all thinking about the creative arts, world, whether it be sewing or knitting and crocheting or, photography or any of the typical creative kind of things. And so it was a very interesting experience. But what dedicated me was they put on an amazing event. They're amazingly professional, tremendously generous.
Nice. So do you think that you're going to be able to apply some of the
already have been applying stuff from each of them in different venues in my world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat. And are you going to, or have you already going to write some blog posts about sort of applying some of these concepts or sort of sharing their concepts with the creative?
As I start really implementing them, I mean, like a lot of them is in the kind of early implementation stage, but as we really start to implement it, yeah, absolutely.
That'll be interesting to read. Super. Okay. So Stacey, I'm going to let you pick what you want next.
I'm going to pick
list.
For fear of stealing Gwen's.
Okay.
I'm doing this one first. No, I'm kidding. This is a website that Gwen turned me on to, Time Management Ninja. Well, really, it's a blog. And it's just, I don't know, is it one guy? It might just be one guy.
I think it's just one guy.
It's just one guy. It's just a blog of really good time management techniques. And they're the easiest things. Like, that's nothing complicated. Like, you don't set up a new planner or anything like that. But they're just really good tips to just manage your time better. So one of them is what I said earlier, closing your email throughout the day. Things like I'm one now about how to streamline some tasks. And they're just really simple little posts, and you can read through them in a minute or two. And you always end up being like, oh, that is sort of a good idea. Wow, that would save me time, if I did that. So timemanagementninja.com. And I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah,
well.
One of the things I follow him on Twitter, and I also follow his blog in my RSS reader. And one of the things I like about it is just, even if I don't read the whole piece that day, even just seeing the headline reminds me that I should think about time management that day. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I will read it when I'm having my morning cup of coffee, and I'll be like, oh yeah, time management is something I should be cognizant of throughout the day today. Yeah, I kind of like that.
For 2013, my overarching goal was I was defending my evenings and weekends. Because when you work at home, there's really nothing stopping you from checking your email one more time.
Oh, amen, sister.
Yeah, doing that one more little thing. And so I've been pretty good for a while at after 6 p.m. I'm pulling the plug. And in 2013, I was working on doing the weekends as well. So I check email, check my forums for like an hour or two in the morning, and then that's it. Like, my day is over, because otherwise it's going to take over your entire life. And what you have to do to run a business in less than 40 hours a week is be really picky about how you spend your time, which might mean not, you can't reply to an email within 5 seconds, or you're not reading every single tweet of every person you follow. So it's a good site to just narrow your focus.
Yeah, I think all three of us read it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that tells you something. All right, so I have one more pick for today, and that is the Swell app. So this is an app for iPhone. I'm sure you can probably get it on your iPad and perhaps on Android, although I haven't checked. And it is, I believe it's free in the iTunes store, and it is very similar to Pandora, which is the popular music app. That's you kind of can tune into a station based on what you like, and it chooses music for you. So it's similar to that, but it's for spoken audio. So if you're a person like me who works at home or just listens to lots of audio throughout the week, you kind of run out of podcasts, which is what happens to me sometimes. So I've gone through all the new shows, and then I'm like, oh, okay, what am I going to listen to now that's interesting? So Swell app has been a lifesaver because it is like Pandora. So you just tune in, and it's super simple. There's audio on there all the time, and then it learns what you like. So if you're listening to a piece from NPR, let's say, and then you're not interested in it, you can just swipe, and it kind of is like a thumbs down. And then it won't give you, pieces on finance anymore if that's not what you're interested in. And then if you give it a thumbs up, it's like, ooh, I can, Swell knows that you like technology. And so it'll try to find more audio pieces on technology for you. And it just, constantly streams. It's super simple. And I have learned about new shows from it that I would never have found previously. So that's really helpful too. So if you're listening to a piece and you're like, wow, this is a great interviewer, or, I really like the format of this show, it says right there what it is, where you can find it, and then you can go hunt that down and, subscribe to that particular show in iTunes or whatever. So, and then it's searchable too. So if you want to find just, This American Life, you can search for that, and it just constantly streams. So there's no, fiddling with your phone or anything like that. You just swipe to skip and thumbs up if you like it, and ta-da. So I love
really
the
nice.
Swell app. Yeah, super good. All right, so we don't have a ton of time left, so we're going to hit one more. Gwen, I'll let you pick. You have 2 left on your list. Do you want to pick one?
You're going to have to tell me what they are. I don't have that email
Okay,
open.
so
I've slept since then.
So one of them is the Hadaki bags, and one of them was your Mini Coupe S.
Oh, I think the world will be more interested in the Hadaki bags, so I'll talk about the Hadaki bags. I found them. Well, I discovered them last year at the National Needle Arts Association, or wholesale show for the yarn industry, and I decided that I would kind of start moving to them as my kind of carry-on. I can never take a trip where I only use carry-on because I have way too much stuff that has to go. So I always have checked luggage.
I can attest to this. She has a lot of stuff.
I have a lot of stuff. It's kind of the way that it goes. And so my carry-on bag, I've had a bag that I really love, but it started to really show wear. And the problem is because I leave out of a really small market, sometimes it doesn't quite fit. It really is supposed to, it'll fit barely under the seat in front of me, but kind of not quite, and it encroaches a little bit on my neighbor's space, and it won't fit in the overhead bin in the little planes when I have to do that. So I was looking for some alternatives, and so I found these Hadaki bags, and I just love them because they're not particularly expensive. I mean, they're not cheap, but they're not particularly expensive, but they're durable. And they're fun. They have these really fun prints and bright colors and whatnot. And they have all sorts of shapes and sizes and types and so I've got a couple Hadaki bags that I use as my carry-ons. I actually have a little Hadaki wallet that I use now. I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of become the perfect bag.
Do you know what cut you have? Do you have the Jet Setter duffel?
I have, I don't know. One of them is just the laptop bag, which that's all it'll hold in your laptop. that's the thing, is that kind of depending on what you specifically need, you can find it. Because they have, some with more zipper pockets, some with less, some with more space, some with less space. And so that's why I've liked it. And mine has quite a bit of white in the print that I have. And I thought, okay, it's going to start looking filthy really soon. And I used it for, most of a half of a year. And there's a few places that, I can tell that it's starting to get a little dirty. I haven't even put it through the washer yet, but I know I can, because it's just a good, like ripstop nylon kind of thing. So I'm pretty excited about them, and we'll continue to be purchasing these Hadaki bags because, like I said, for value, they're a good price. And even if they got really grimy and they wouldn't go through the washer, like I said, I haven't actually done it yet, but I'm pretty sure it will. It'll be no problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem. It would be not a problem in my mind to just say, okay, you're done. I'm throwing you out because it is a good value. I'm not spending, $400 on a bag. It's, it's a fairly inexpensive bag. And
that's super. Gwen, I'm going to, if you send me when you have some time to go back and look, send me the link to the one that you've been using, and I'll link to that one. And it looks like they have all different, they make a whole lot of different lines of bags, including some really nice looking kids backpacks I can see here.
That's the thing, is they have a ton of options.
That's awesome.
Options.
All right. So we just have a few more minutes, Stacey. So,
good. My last one's quick.
Go for it.
Okay. In my time management theme, so it's the new year, you get a new little calendar and planner. I strongly advocate for a weekly to-do list over a daily to-do list. So I very rarely put anything on a specific day unless it's, like right now it said 6 a.m. podcast with Abby. But otherwise I just have what I need to do for the week, and it's on the right side of my page and the calendar's on the left side of the page. And I think that allows me to sort of pick what I feel like doing that day, or, so manage when I feel like doing things, or just let things spread to the next day without feeling bad about it. Like if I have format a pattern and I start on Monday and I don't finish it until Tuesday, that's fine. It's not overflow. It's not whatever. It's just I'm working on it that week and I'm doing it. And I much prefer that to putting things on every day, because if something happens on a Monday, then you have to bump it to Tuesday. And then before the end of the week, your calendar looks all scratchy. And I also always pad my to-do list by a little bit so that I always finish the week with the things done. Mm-hmm. And that gives you a good sense of completion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of having a to-do list is just being able to check things off and feel like you're making progress. And so you want to set it up for maximum positive feelings of moving forward.
I love that.
Success. Mm-hmm. Set yourself up for success.
For success, exactly. And I'm also such the early bird. I always like to have the padding in there too, so that I have everything done on time. And there's a lot of variables in life. You can get sick, or something can, suddenly break in your house or whatever. All kinds of things can happen. Your car dies and, life gets in the way. And so it's good to have a little bit of time. Okay, it's not till Friday. I can still get it done, between now and then. So I like that too. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, you guys. And Gwen, I hope you feel good soon.
I hope I do too. Like I said, this is my worst nightmare of not feeling well just before needing to go to an event. So hopefully the next couple days I will be officially on the mend.
Yeah, because when do you leave for TNNA?
I leave on Thursday and have to teach on Friday. So.
All right, well, get lots of rest and drink
Feel
some
better.
tea. Yeah, feel better. So you've been listening to the While She Naps podcast. My guests today were Gwen Bortner and Stacey Trock. And you can find Gwen online at twosidestwopoints.com and gwenbortner.com, her website. And you can find Stacey Trock at freshstitches.com. And you can connect with me on my blog, whileshenaps.com. The While She Naps podcast airs the first and third Mondays of the month. So you can subscribe for free in iTunes so you don't miss a thing. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
bye.